Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Grassroots Racer. Just before we get into this episode of Grassroots Racer, I just wanted to quickly mention to you guys that after a bit of pressure and talking to the guys on the radio last week, if you don't know, I do co-host a segment on Fresh FM on a Wednesday night, and the guys there were telling me I should start a GoFundMe page. Now, I looked into it a little bit, and I did tell them on the radio that I have my personal opinions on GoFundMe. I think GoFundMe is a really good tool for people who need the help and support. But for a sports athlete like myself, I don't think I should be aiming towards GoFundMe. I've done a bit of donation stuff in the past with them, and I think it was better when I did it with motor neuron disease and when we did the Racing for Pink breast cancer. That stuff worked really well on GoFundMe, but for my personal racing, I feel like it should be left up to more of a sport page. So after a bit of research, we did find a page that is for sports people, and we decided to register, put me on there. So in the description, I'll leave a link to it. We'd really appreciate any help. The minimum on there's $2. Like anything goes towards a set of tires, accommodation at the track. It all helps. So if any of you guys could put a donation, we would really appreciate it. But if you can't afford to do anything, you can still like, subscribe, and share the podcast, the page, anything. Like all support around here is appreciated, no matter if it involves money or not. And I'm not going to force any of you guys to put money in. And to those who already have, we really do appreciate it. So, on to this episode of Grassroots Racer. I speak to Geoff Colson from Colson Photography. It was an awesome chat. We pretty much just sat here talking about motorsport the whole time, and that's something I love to do. So it was really good to hear his perspective of things because, he normally sits on the other side of the fence. So it was really cool to hear from him. And I saw him at the weekend when I was testing my Formula RX-8. And enjoy this episode of Grassroots Racer. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. So,
No.
Geoff, how did you get started as a motorsport photographer, and what drew you to capturing the action on track?
Hi, Ayrton. How are you? I I grew up at high school. I was doing photography at high school, very, very, very long time ago. Wanted to be a photographer, but there was no opportunity, so I went and found other work. But in 2018, picked up a digital camera, went and bought a digital camera, and that's where it all started again. The passion for photography came back in 2018. So hasn't been there for that long, really. And motorsport, we started, the wife and I started going to Winton just as a spectator and taking photos outside the fence. And one thing led to another, and a few people said, Geoff, you take some half decent photos and whatever. And we got more and more interested in it. I applied for media accreditation with the AASA. They accepted it, and that got me inside the fence to take photos. Yeah, and it's just grown from there. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. And obviously, 2018, that's still about 6 years ago. Could
Yeah,
be
yeah,
wrong.
thereabouts.
So you're doing quite well. You've been doing it for a little while. I would have been near the start of my karting career, probably my third year. So, it's a good thing getting into motorsports. The photography side gets a bit underlooked. Like you guys do a pretty good job on a race weekend. You're always capturing the good and the bad. So it's awesome to have you guys. But what do you enjoy most about taking photos at grassroots sort of events?
I just love motorsport.
Yeah.
So getting up close to the action, meeting some fantastic people like yourself. It's really good meeting a lot of people, and I've made a lot of friends. Yeah, love the grassroots side of it. It's where it's the bare bones motorsport. It's where everyone starts. There's still plenty of egos in the pits, but 9 times out of 10, I walk into someone's garage and it's a handshake and hi, how you going? In the upper levels of motorsport, you don't get to do that. Yeah, so that's why I like the grassroots side of things.
Well, yeah. Well, even for yourself, you stopped me at the drivers' briefing room. We had a quick chat. Like it's grassroots motorsport's very open, and it's great to sort of communicate with the people around you. And
like I'll have no issue ever stopping to talk to anyone, and I'm not I'm not really at that level where I should stop or not stop to talk to anyone. But it's great to see what you guys do, and we actually don't see you much on track, but every now and again we will notice you because you guys hide away pretty well.
You'd be surprised as to how many people actually wave to the photographers. You look back through your photos and you see people waving all the time. It's quite funny sometimes. Like, you shouldn't be looking at me. You should be looking at where you're going. Yeah,
Well, Phil Wildsworld.
I do
Um,
know Phil, the magnet.
yes, the magnet. So after my accident, that I had at Winton, and he was obviously there, and I got roped into his magnetic pull sort of pulled me towards the wall. So
Yes.
I think it was a round or two after I was actually at Sandown. It was really wet, and I was doing really well. And I had a spin, and I look in the mirror, and he's sitting in the mirror taking photos at that corner. And then after that, I've always scouted the track while I start a race. Like on the formation lap, I always scout the track. It's like, which corner is he at?
Yeah, just take a little bit extra care wherever he's standing.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's actually what I
that
did.
one at
So
Winton, you couldn't have lined him up any better with that one at
I
Winton.
know.
Oh, I was watching that on TV, I think, at the time, and yeah, there's Phil right there in the action.
Yeah, well, I had him on here, and he reckons that the nose cone, because when I dived into the gravel trap, went and the nose cone split everywhere. Apparently, he actually had to duck and get out of the way because it nearly hit him.
I think
So
I said this to you in the pits the other day. I said, as a photographer, when there's an incident, it all happens very quickly. I'm sure it happens pretty quick for you too. It's like you got to
yeah,
make some split decisions. But yeah, we always make sure that we've got an escape route, whether it's, you're going to go left, you're going to go right, whether you can go backwards. Wherever I are standing around the racetrack, I'm always very, very careful and mindful of my escape route, just in case.
yeah. No, I understand what you mean. I do. Last year, I did a little bit of because I got a camera and stuff. I did a little bit of photography for my brother's soccer game, so I was trying to capture all the moments. But it's so hard to keep up with the what's going on, and then you'll be over here, and then something will happen like down the other side. And you got to quickly flick over and try and get in on it all. So it's a very hard thing, photography.
Just keep clicking. The more photos you take, you're sure to get a few good ones in between there. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you have a couple favorite moments or experiences while capturing photography?
Favorite moments. Vic State Racing Series at Winton last year. Luke Grech combo. He was in his HSV Senator. I think it was on the last couple of laps. I'm not sure if he was in the lead, but he was in the top three, that's for sure. And his brakes failed. I think the caliper broke off the front left or something like that. And the magnet had just left. The magnet was standing next to me actually, and he had just left the scene. So this makes it a little bit more special. And I noticed that Luke, he wasn't going to stop. So I'm standing at 1-2 next to the flag marshal bunker. And Luke just went off the end of the straight at a million miles an hour and hit the cross, the little track that the emergency vehicles use, and he did Dukes of Hazzard. He went for a bit of a fly across the track. I think you've got one of those photos. I think I've sent the photo to you in that little package. So that was a pretty special moment, and he pulled it up. He wasn't hurt, which was good. But special moments. Sandown a few weeks ago. I'm sponsoring Jackson Rice in the Trans Am series this year. You were there. You were in the
Yeah,
pits as well. The last race on Sunday where I think Jackson, he started 10th or 11th or something like that. He was down near the rear, and there was a big accident on the first or second lap. And Jackson he was just like Moses. He just parted the seas and just drove straight through it. And he ended up getting third for that race. That was pretty special.
yeah,
I'm just standing on the side of the track, like all of us invested in the team, just going, come on, boy, get across the line. And that was probably the most special moment so far. Yeah.
yeah. Well, to see him and Josh Webster both like get through it undamaged was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, I wish I was there for Sunday because that would have been good to be there to actually experience that. But yeah, look, I think that race was quite. Even though you could say he got lucky that he went through, he did very well to keep Todd Hazelwood behind for as long as he did. And then when Todd got past, to sort of not really keep the pressure on him, but he stayed with him for a fair bit. And then Todd went off and he
He
held off
did.
Benny Grice and Tim Slade. So he did really well.
Yeah, yeah, and they're down at Simmons Plains this weekend. So fingers crossed for some more success. And Jackson, he's playing with the big guys now. So the more races he races in against the best, it'll just make him better as well.
Yeah. Well, obviously Nathan Hearn's back and he's looking quite strong.
He's very quick. Yes.
I was just about to bring up the times, but my Instagram's not loading. But I think the top 15 are within 7/10 of each other. So
It's only a very short lap over at Simmons Plains, but still, it's for a short track. It's probably one of the best tracks to actually race at. As a spectator, the racing's always tight. It's always great down there.
yeah, and especially with Trans Am, like those guys, they're there for sheep stations, so no one's going to back out of it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But one thing we also saw at Sandown was the top 10 were all within a second, I believe. So still quite close that category, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, yeah. Sandown's definitely once again not a huge long track, but just two very very long straights with a couple of turns in between. So yeah, it's all about your speed at Sandown. That's for sure.
100%. I do have a question though for you. So how do you approach capturing the essence or like the atmosphere of the event? You're sitting there, how do you sort of time to get those beautiful pictures?
You've got to do your homework. Before you go for a weekend, yes, of course, we're studying the race schedule. Who's racing at what time, but you've also got to take into account where the sun is in the morning. You don't want to be shooting into the sun as such because it's going to ruin the photos. You sort of want the sun behind you, so it's lighting up the cars. So that determines where the locations you're going to use as compared to where the sun is. You also, I do vary my shutter speed a lot in my photos, and that's where you get the really nice blurry panning sort of a shot.
Yeah.
It's not just set it on one shutter speed and leave it there. I'm always making adjustments to my camera settings and just take lots of photos and at the end of the day you've got a few little rippers that my customers really really like.
Yeah, well, obviously I grabbed a few and look, they're really good because a few of them were zoomed out enough that I could actually use it. Hold on. So I can use that as a good shot there. I just changed the black and white, nothing huge. But they're really good photos, and I think you do a superb job because even to place yourself at corners because you probably have done your homework over the 2 days, but the sweeper there, just coming off the sweeper, and at turn 3, there was a lot of sideways action. So
yeah. That's another thing. I'm always very mindful about what's in the background in a photo. No one wants to see a Portaloo or that sort of thing in the background. So you've got to line yourself up and you look at how the cars are coming around the track and what attitude they're getting around the corner. And another one, which is a good example, is if the cars, especially on the downshift, if there's flames coming out of the exhausts, that's what we're trying to chase. Getting a bit of flame coming out of the exhaust, going into the corner. That adds to a really really nice photo. We're always just looking for that little bit extra. And yeah, especially in backgrounds, crowd's always good in the background. Once again, you can use the sun. You can shoot into the sun and get this really nice effect. A lot of really good photographers use that. So there's a lot of different variables. And that's probably the one thing is try and keep it variable. Don't just continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. Always looking for a new spot to stand, different shutter speeds, different times of day, all sorts of things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand what you mean. To see some of the shots that people take, it's very positioned. Because you can probably tell by how the driver. Oh, you probably also go by driver. I would say if you know Ayrton's more aggressive than Justin, you might try and get Ayrton because he might hit a curb more than Justin would, or Justin's car might spit flames better than Ayrton's car. So you gotta really position yourself quite well.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are some drivers that use a completely different line. Yeah, some go up on the curb, like you were hitting the curb quite nicely at turn 6 at Winton. Weren't quite getting into the air, but it was only a test day as well. But yeah, just getting a bit of curb action. Other drivers would just sort of maybe just touch the curb, maybe stay a little bit away from it. So yeah, you take all that into account. Yeah, definitely.
Was I hitting that 10-6 curb?
You've got a photo of it, dude. You've got to go through your photo package. Yes, yeah. You hit it a couple of times. I was only at that corner for about 10 or 15 minutes, and yeah, you hit it a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand a couple of times, but I hope I wasn't doing that too much. Probably send you
If you
off a
do
little bit.
if you do it too much, you're going to start damaging some things, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, because
Yeah.
that curb's very sharp, so I hope I'm not hitting that too much.
Well, there's the biggest curbs that I've seen is some of the curbs down at Calder Park.
Yeah,
They're
no, they're deadly.
they're really high.
Yeah, I went there for a test day in the Formula V. Actually, you might have been there.
Yeah, I think I was. Yeah, you were
Yeah,
talking. Yeah, yeah, at the back of the pits, I was having a chat. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's, the car wasn't running awesomely because I had no front brakes, so that was a bit interesting. But yeah, the curbs were very high and the track was quite bumpy. So I'm keen to see what they do with it because I think you're going to a race tomorrow, aren't you?
Yes, we're going to the Victorian Motor Racing Championship.
Oh,
Um, last year I think they needed to make some adjustments to the track. So over the back, I'm not exactly sure what turn it is, but they've you go over Bob's Hill and then you get into a little flip flop, and I think they've moved that corner out even further than what it used to be. And at the High Tech Oil Super Series, I was getting some really good shots. The cars were hitting that curb a lot, and they were getting right up on two wheels. So yeah, I'm not sure. Certain categories, I'm sure the hyper racers won't be hitting the curbs. They'll be damaging their cars. But the tin tops, yeah, give it a bit of a whack and get some cool photos, hopefully.
yeah. Don't really want to expose a few guys that were there that test day, but they were definitely smashing them curbs. Because I think in the Trans Ams they were just point and then hold it, and it was handling the curbs quite nicely.
And the Trans Ams are getting a little bit of air coming over Bob's Hill as well. That
Yeah,
also that's a great spot for photography coming over the hill there.
yeah. I think Craig Scatella was saying as you come over, the front of the car actually got so light that it would drift to one side if you weren't super focused. So
Okay.
it's quite interesting for a Trans Am to come off the ground. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah. The best photo I got from Bob's Hill so far was earlier last year, August. The first race meeting in 17 years, I think, for Calder was the Victorian Motor Racing Championship, and they had the stock cars racing there. And it was just it was an Oz car. It was like a VN or a VP Commodore, and he got the rears were still on the ground, but the front left was probably a good half a meter off the ground. Yeah,
Oh
made
wow.
for great photos. Yeah, I think you might have realised that there was a photographer standing there and gave it a bit more of a squirt.
Have you ever noticed anyone look at you and then drive a certain way or hit a try and drift the car or whatever to get in a photo?
I've noticed a few drivers look at me and then go very close to destroying their cars because they've lost the line a little bit. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'd say that they're going to do a big drift coming out of a corner. Maybe after the race is finished, they might give it a little bit more of a bit of a squirt going through on the slowdown lap. But no, I haven't. I'm hoping that they don't actually do that when they see a photographer. I'm hoping they're actually concentrating and doing what they're supposed to be
Yeah.
doing.
Well, I remember in go-karting, because you had a lot more vision or whatever, a lot of photographers actually used to zoom in on our helmets and get our focus face, and I always thought that was quite cool.
I quite like doing that in the pits actually.
I think
Yeah,
you sent me one in my package.
you'll probably be see me walking around. Yeah, I normally shove a camera in the door and get a nice close up of the driver with the helmet on. Yeah, got to
Yeah.
get the eyes. You got to get the eyes, angry eyes.
Mm. Well, I always used to wear a clear visor, so that's why I noticed a lot of photographers like doing that to me. So,
Yeah, yeah.
do you ever sort of notice the when the drivers are going hard and whatever? Do you ever see an incident about to unfold and then you focus on a couple cars and it's actually happened?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be lucky. Like I have some settings on the cam on each of my cameras where even if I'm doing a really slow shutter speed, like a pan, I can click a button, just one button, that changes the complete settings of the camera to a really fast shutter speed, and so I can capture if there's an incident about to happen. And if you're a photographer and you're out here watching this now, I recommend you do a custom setting like that in your camera, just in case. Because if something happens, it happens very, very quickly, and you don't want to miss the action. So yes, you just see something. You might hear a little screech of a tire, like we're just starting to lock a brake or something like that, and it just gets your attention. And yeah, you've got to be ready to just turn around and just grab that action real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, lots of guys do get photos, but I bet I can guarantee you've missed a lot of good opportunities. There's everyone would have at least at some point.
Oh yes. Oh yes. You'd be tracking a car through the corner and then you turn around and all hell's broken loose at the previous corner and you just where did that come from? Yeah, of course. You can't capture everything.
Yeah. And I believe you're a Victorian-based photographer. What cool events have you been to which you'd like to share?
Um, I do most of my work at Winton Motor Raceway. The guys and girls at Winton, they've been fantastic to me. They're very welcoming. They're very supportive of my photography. But I've also been down to Phillip Island a few times. I've done the speed series at Phillip Island. We've been to Calder Park, been to Sandown a few times. That's about as far. I've been down to Portland, been down to the drags down at Portland, that's a nice little drag strip down there. That's about as far as we've gone with the photography so far. So far, I think I'll be going to the Bend later this year with the hyper races. We
Ooh,
might be going to Adelaide with the Trans Am series. I think the Trans Am's are supporting the supercars over at Adelaide at the end
yeah,
of the year.
I was surprised about that one.
So we might be going over for that, which would be pretty cool. Yeah, not it's just about money basically. It's
Yeah,
whether I can afford to venture out there. This is my full-time job. So I'm when I'm out taking photos, I'm trying to make money. So it's not like I'm working during the week and then I can fund a weekend away to go to Bathurst or anything like that. It's just it's all. I love my motorsport, but I still need to be able to make a living from it too. So staying fairly grounded in Victoria.
yeah. Would you like to go to Bathurst at some point and potentially shoot at the either the 500 or the 1000?
I've I've driven my car around Bathurst, and I'm just stunned at how people race around there. It's just, if you've never driven around there in a car, you just got to do it. But yeah, I would love to go there as a photographer. Just hoping that the opportunity knocks down the track, and yeah, be love there. I'll be there in a minute.
Well, my first time will be on track this year, so I wonder how that will go.
You never know. I might chase you up there.
Yeah, well, we'll be at the international, so that's still quite a big event, but hopefully not big enough that the whole surrounding suburb is booked out.
Yeah, Bathurst can get very, very expensive. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, we haven't booked our accommodation yet, but I hope that we can find somewhere other than the Bathurst Hotel because I've heard that's very expensive. So
I think if I'm going, I'll be camping in a tent.
that's not too bad. But I
As
hope
long as
we
I can
can
get some power to charge up some batteries and edit some photos on the computer,
yeah.
that's all I need.
We'll have to bring up a generator for you. We'll just wheel one out to you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, it'd be super awesome to see you go do a bit more of the interstate events because I did see you had a photo of Chaz Mostert. So which supercars round was that?
I did the test days at
Oh,
Winton.
test days. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I've like I said, Winton support me a lot, and I'm granted access to the supercars test days at Winton, which is really nice. It's
Yeah.
really nice of them. Yeah.
Yeah, love the people at Winton. I was talked to I forgot his name, the Clocker course. I actually feel really bad about that. I had an interview with him end of last year at the Petty Sprints and great fellas and everyone there does their part and it's really awesome.
Yeah, they're all very nice people. Absolutely. Yeah.
What about the AGP? What qualifications do you need for that? Because they wouldn't just let anyone in, would they, for photography?
Uh that's another one that I'd like to tick off the bucket list. One day I'll get to the GP and I'll be taking photos, but as far as I can see, is you need to be working for a media agency.
Yeah,
It's yes, you need media accreditation, but you need to be working for an international media agency like a Getty Images, that sort of thing.
yeah,
You might get through the door if you're representing the Herald Sun or the Age. Some photographers will only get accreditation to go and photograph certain categories, as far
mm,
as I understand. So it's not a simple way to get in. I do know a couple of photographers that do photograph the GP, but yeah, they're working for international media agencies.
yeah. Okay, that's a bit odd, but yeah, I'm gonna try and go down and bring my camera, but I might just stand on the top of a grandstand or something if I can get in and just over the fence. See how I
There's
go.
nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that. There's still professional photographers will take photos from the general admission areas. You get a different perspective on the photo. You use the crowd in your photo.
Yeah,
And you can, if you can get close enough to the big fences, the big crash fences, you can shoot through them. If you're doing a panning shot, you can actually pan so the fence is basically blurred.
yeah,
Like it's right in front of you, but you can just completely blur the fence and focus on the car going past. But yeah, you want to, once again, it's coming back to the crowd. The crowd's part of the event. You
yeah,
need to add them into your photos.
yeah. Um, yeah. If I can get in a grandstand, that's sort of might have to borrow my friend's one or whatever, but if he's not in the grandstand at the time, but I might have to go in and try and stand directly across, and then I can try and get background grandstands or whatever, and then get the car because if it's
Yeah,
high enough, I might be able to see over the fence, and because I haven't got it near me, but I've got a lens that does not a half bad job from long distance, so see how I go.
yeah. That's practice makes perfect. I'm not even what am I doing Grand Prix weekend? I think I'm going to do a dog show. I'm photographing at a dog event on Grand Prix weekend. So I'll be coming home of the evening. I think I'll be putting the Grand Prix replay on while I'm editing photos from the dog event. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it's not so bad. Like I feel like you've done quite a fair bit all around, so you should be pretty proud of that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's not just motorsport. Yes, I love the car racing and I love taking photos and love getting paid to do what I do. But yeah, so there's a lot of other different types of photography I do. Commercial real estate, industrial photography, portraits, landscapes, public events for the local council, all different things.
Yeah.
You name it, I'll do it. Oh, except for weddings. I don't do weddings.
Fair enough.
So when you grow up a little bit more, buddy, and you're getting married, sorry, I'm not going to help you.
That's all right. I think I'll pass anyway. Um, I'm not gonna let a missus, mate. I'm not gonna get a missus. She'll stop me from racing. So that's a big no-no. No, I'm kidding. Um,
Yeah.
what tips or advice would you give to aspiring motorsport photographers? Because lots of people who can't afford to race, unfortunately, they turn to photography because it's still something that they love. So how do you sort of get in? And is there any tips or tricks?
Um, Apply for media accreditation. It's quite a simple process. That enables you to, like I said, to get in inside where the general admission are, so you can get up nice and close. Look at other people's photos. Study how other photographers do their work. Just be aware of your surroundings. You don't have to have the best camera to start with. When I started, I think my camera was about $1,500.
Yeah,
They've gotten better over time. I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to that. I'm always trying to improve on my photography. But just take lots of photos. Have a look at what you're doing. Have a look at what other photographers are doing. Study.
yeah,
Watch YouTube tutorials on different methods of taking photos. Just practice.
yeah.
It's like anything. Just keep practicing.
Yeah, I've only got a 1500D Canon, so it's nothing special, but it's actually quite a good camera, and I really enjoy it because I find Canon are very good for beginners.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All of my gears, I use Sony.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sony mirrorless cameras, but it's the same thing. There's different levels of cameras. Yeah. Start small, dream big, and don't be scared of. I was quite apprehensive when I started doing this. It was introducing myself in the pits to
yeah,
people, but don't be scared. Walk in, say hellos. Hi, I'm Geoff, and like I said, 9 times out of 10, or even 99 times out of 100, there'll be a smile looking straight back here, and they'll shake your hand and say, "Hi, how you doing?" Yeah, and that's the really good way of getting noticed and meeting more people.
yeah. Well, that's sort of how I met you. You were, I think we met at that Calder test day. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not. But yeah, you introduced yourself to me then, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you were there taking photos of the day I forgot to bring my helmet. But do you
Isn't
know
isn't
about
that
that?
one of the rules? Isn't that one of the rules wherever a car racer goes? Always take your helmet just in case you might get a drive.
Yeah, and the funny thing was I was driving my car, so yeah, mum wasn't very happy when she found out that my helmet was an hour and 30 away. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
uh, I was
Look,
I was lucky enough that someone had a spare helmet that they weren't using, but they brought because they thought they might be getting a Guernsey in something. So yeah, I was lucky to chuck it on and go for a drive.
yeah, yeah.
People still hang that on me to this day. Jackson, whenever I see him, he's like, "Did you bring your helmet today, mate?" So
Oh,
yeah.
you need to find some dirt on him and pay it back, don't you?
Oh no, no, don't worry, don't worry. Yeah, we're pretty close. So yeah, we've got stuff on each other, but yeah,
He's
it'd be
he's
good
a,
to
he's
see
a
how he
good
goes.
he's a good young man too. Yeah,
He is, yeah. Jackson's he's very respectable and he knows how to sort of keep his composure. So he's doing really well, and it'll be good to see what he can do this weekend.
yeah, absolutely,
Because based off last week at the testing, he still looks quick. So hopefully he can show it up to the big boys.
definitely.
But I really appreciate you jumping on tonight, Geoff. Obviously Colson Photography. I'll just quickly drop that. You can find that on I'm gonna say Facebook, Instagram, maybe.
Yeah, there's an Instagram page. I don't use it as much as the Facebook page, but there is an Instagram page.
Yep,
Um, G Colson Photography, I think it is. Yeah, Colson Photography on the Facebook. I've got the website colsonphotography.com.au. Yeah,
cool. And if you're at the track, probably at a AASA event in Victoria. You'll probably see Geoff getting around, and yeah, please buy some photos from him because I just bought a whole pack, and look, they're awesome photos. I'm not gonna deny it, and yeah, I'll be using these ones. So please support Geoff, guys, and he's just a photographer trying to capture the moment. So appreciate you jumping on tonight, Geoff, and sharing your your experience as a grassroots photographer. So it'll be awesome to see you at the track this year.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks very much.
Cool.